We're here. It's great. I don't know how I feel about this ring light. It's new. Great news. My new computer shipped today. Let me make sure the chat is working. Great, it is. Love that. I'll give people a couple seconds to get here. We love, we laugh. For those of you on TikTok, we're on Twitch. That's how you can see all the pictures and all that fun stuff. I just drank a Dr. Pepper, so it should be entering my bloodstream shortly, so I'll be a lot more peppy in like 5 to 10 minutes. Hi, welcome back to class. I had to give the PSAT today, and I don't know why. It was literally so draining. Like, I did nothing. I sat at my desk the whole day, but it was just like, y'all, I just watched an 8-year-old both drive and break his 70-year-old aunt's car. Somehow it doesn't surprise me that he broke it. I'm gonna be real for a second there. Shan0, thanks for subscribing with Prime. I finally made it to a live stream. Welcome, Gabrielle101. Happy Wednesday. I'm so emo tonight. What about all of y'all? I'm very emo. Like, I feel very emo. I'm glad I said something. I debated not saying anything, but I was like, it's inauthentic to be feeling emo and not name your emo, you know? But look how much more is done on the wall. It goes all the way up to the ceiling now, so I'm like half done. Well, there's just like one little sliver that needs to be done for the camera, but I'll show you. Is there anything you shouldn't see back there? No. You can see there's like more wall. There's my Peloton, and then there's like a wall in the door. So I want it to go all the way to the other corner. But there we go. Now you really can't see it. But then you can't see Mike. Mike's too important. He needs to be seen. She is on the air. This is my grandpa's sign. Did you guys know that? He's dead, but the sign still works. Actually, it doesn't. My dad had to fix it. He had to replace the neon. Let's get a little darker. Okay, that feels better. I wish there was like a half a click in between those. Let's try. Oh, that might. No, that's way too dark. That's like sad. Okay, that's better, I think. I think that did it. Always love the vibes. My students thought that this was like a college dorm room. They were like, why do you post videos in a college dorm room? And I was like, I'm sorry, what are you referring to? And they said this. Yes, it's getting dark outside earlier. Maybe I should not have left Florida. Like, maybe it's seasonal depression. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. I'm a 6-year partner and I cannot wait to hear what you have to say. I can't wait to hear what you all have to say. I'm hoping that a lot of partners are here tonight so that they can contribute to the convo. I logged in at perfect timing. Exactly. I wanted to scooch this guy over, but it won't go. Okay, let's get started. We have a lot to talk about. I know it says that there's only 50 slides, which a lot of times I'd be hitting y'all with like 70, 80, but a lot of them, it's like we're going to read articles and I just put the whole article in one slide. So it's like going to scroll for a long time. So it's probably about the same as it usually is. Honestly, probably a little more. Did you move to the northern part of the country where it's depressingly cold for 6 months? I live in like a pretty moderate part of the country. So it's cold, but it's not like terrible. It snows on occasion, but it's not like something that deeply affects people. You know? Okay, I've said too much already. So for anyone living under a rock, if you do not know what Starbucks is, or honestly, I think Starbucks is in like almost every country, so I guess everyone here would probably know, but it is an American multinational chain of coffee houses and roastery reserves headquartered in Seattle, and it is the world's largest coffee house chain. November 2022, they had 35,000 stores in 80 countries, 16-ish thousand were located in the United States, and out of Starbucks US-based stores, over 8,900 are company operated, while the remainder are licensed. So the difference between like a company operated and a licensed is like the one inside of like the airport is probably licensed, or like a Starbucks inside of a hotel is probably licensed. So like the people working there are using Starbucks products, but they're not employees of Starbucks. Starbucks is like, they're a licensed vendor of Starbucks products, just to clarify. Because the hotel that I worked at, we had a little coffee shop and it had Starbucks stuff. Like it was Starbucks, but on your receipt, it would say like the name of the hotel. It didn't say Starbucks. And we had a little Starbucks partner sign thing. And you can taste the difference. Yeah, you usually can. There, I really couldn't because there was like not a Starbucks for miles and miles and miles. So it was like the best thing I had. But yeah, Target, yeah, the ones inside Target. Like any time you're like, why can't I use a Starbucks gift card here? It's literally Starbucks. That's a licensed. So the rise of the second wave of coffee culture is generally attributed to Starbucks, which introduced a wider variety of coffee experiences. They serve hot and cold things, instant coffee, espresso, lattes, loose teas, juices, frappuccino. They just have fucking everything there. They have a lot of seasonal items, a lot of like limited time things, and usually they have free Wi-Fi, but they don't really like you to hang out in there anymore. So Starbucks originally opened, and I promise this is only like a couple slides of company history, and then we'll like start talking shit. But I wanted people to like know the company. So they opened in Seattle in 1971. Originally, it was not like a coffee shop. It was a place where you bought beans and like equipment. Like it wasn't like oh, I'm gonna order a latte here. It was like, oh, I'm gonna buy a pound of coffee beans here. They took away our outlets so people would stop charging laptops and staying around for free refills. Honestly, that sucks for us, but I'm sure as an employee you liked that. Like I would like that. Like I hated when customers stick around. Like get the fuck out. This is my house. Like what are you doing here? So, it was founded by business partners Jerry Baldwin and Zev Ziegel and Gordon Bowker. They first met as students of the University of San Francisco. Fucking hippies. The trio were inspired to sell high quality coffee beans and equipment by a roasting entrepreneur Alfred Peet. Peet's Coffee is big in California. I like Peet's Coffee a lot better than Starbucks. I think it tastes better. Their lattes are better. They just know what they're doing there better. But I've also only had Peet's twice, so I could have just like gotten good experiences. But I think that Jerry, Zev, and Gordon probably really like to mansplain to girls in college about their coffee beans. Like they were probably the type of guys that like had their own grinder in their weird little townhouse and were like, oh, you gotta grind it at this thing so that, like the beans will absorb that. And they were just like literally talking and talking and talking and talking. Like I just feel like they would just keep talking. It would just keep going. Where was I? Bowker recalls that a business partner of his, Terry Heckler, thought words beginning in ST were powerful. This is like the same energy as Goop, leading the founders to create a list of words beginning with ST to find the brand name. They chose Starbo, which is a mining town in Cascade Range, and then they remembered Starbuck, the name of the chief mate in the book Moby Dick. Bauer said Moby Dick didn't have anything to do with Starbucks. It was only coincidental that the sound seemed to make sense. What are you talking about? They were on mushrooms when they thought of this. You are not going to change my mind about that in any way. The first Starbucks was located in Seattle, like we said, and it was from 1971 to 1976, and then they moved it, which we'll talk about in a second. They later moved it, like I said, to Pike Place. During this time, they sold just beans and not drinks. And in the first year within the first 2 years of operation, they purchased green coffee beans from Peet's. So literally, they were just selling Peet's beans. That was the whole business. That's it. And then in 1973, Alfred Peet stopped supplying Starbucks and helped train their new roast master, Jim Reynolds. So I guess they were getting bigger and Peet didn't have enough beans. So he was like, whatever, I'll fucking train your guy. Peet seems really fucking nice. If I was Peet, I would be like, no. What? No. Why would I do that for you? What's in that for me? Green beans? I think it's a type of coffee bean. But I don't know. I'm not here to mansplain coffee. So here is the interior of their second location. Just so this was the first like old inside pic I could find where it was like truly them just selling the beans. So you can see there's no one's making drinks back here. Just beans. They probably made it sometimes to like let you try it, but it's not their primary objective. The roasting develops the flavor. See, you guys can mansplain coffee. Green beans are unroasted coffee beans. Green beans coffee is before being roasted. Oh, okay. See, y'all know. I'm starting to think entrepreneurs are just overconfident and not actually innovators. They are. They are. So it's like a Venn diagram. Like there's innovators and some of them happen to be CEOs. But most CEOs are not in that crossover. Like most CEOs are not in the innovator part of the Venn diagram. Some are, like Tim Apple. Sorry, I meant Steve Jobs, but I love the Trump joke, Tim Apple. Actually, it wasn't a joke. I just love how Trump called the CEO of Apple Tim Apple. That's like my favorite thing that's ever happened. But like, Steve Jobs was an innovator and he was also the CEO. Most CEOs have never thought of anything ever other than money. So most of them are not innovators. Employees are partners because they give us stock if you stay long enough. Can I just say, if your company is asking, if your company gives you stock for free, cool, take it. It's free money, take it. But if your company is asking you to purchase stock, do not do that. Do not do that. Do not purchase your own company's stock. If it's a part of your compensation, that's one thing, but do not take the money part of your compensation and invest it back into the company. You already invest yourself there every day. They don't need your money. Money should just be going from them to you, not you to them, ever. I just think it's important to have boundaries. We have a stock purchase program called SIP. Oh, in that meeting, they were eating that up. Whatever fucking assistant marketing manager thought of that meeting was the best day of their life. I hope you take comfort in knowing that that was their peak. The best thing they'll ever do was naming you all's stock program SIP. They'll probably talk about it at their funeral. The owner of Tivana opened her own tea shop online, but I can't remember for the life of me what it was called. I have no idea. Seconding missing Tivana. They used to have Tivana. Now they don't. What's the Tivana situation? We don't get into that, just FYI. So anyway, here's some pics of the old Starbucks days. There's the guys. There's their original logo. Like, they literally look absolutely insufferable. Like, these men, like, imagine you're waitressing and you walk up and it's them. Nightmare, nightmare, nightmare. These are people I would never want to serve. They might be perfectly nice. I have no idea, but no, this is not the new computer. She will be here in about a week. She shipped today. Starbucks bought them out and closed all their locations. Oh, and then Starbucks started selling Tivana tea. I recall. But yeah, they look insufferable. This looks like your friend's dad that like literally will not stop talking to you. That's what they look like. Here's some more pics of them. Again, looking insufferable. Like, when you walked into their San Francisco townhouse, you know it smelled bad. You know it did. Like, you know for a fact that townhouse did not smell good. Here's another pic of inside. This is in 1971, so you can see, look at that cash register. That kind of eats. I don't know. Here is, again, 1970, their old location, I believe. Here's the second Starbucks store. Here's their original logo. I like the original logo better. Give the Starbucks girl her boobs back. We should not have censored her. What happened to free the nipple? What happened to equality? What happened to that? Literally, what happened to that? Free the nip. Free the nip on the Starbucks logo. That's the political stance I have. I'll be brave. I'll say it. All right, so in 1983, they went to Italy and discovered that you can actually serve people coffee. I don't really know why you had to go to Italy to figure that out, but whatever. So after taking inspiration from the many espresso bars and coffee shops they saw while visiting Italy, Schultz returned to the United States, set on reinventing American coffee house culture. Literally, this is such CEO behavior. This is such CEO behavior. Is he even was the founder of the CEO? Let me look. See, y'all think I'm smart, but I'm literally not. No. So this guy is the CEO now, but he wasn't the founder. He came on later. Howard Schultz, who we'll learn a lot more about because he's very anti-union. But anyway, it's so CEO behavior to go on a vacation and then come back and be like, we have to change our whole business model. We got to change it. Let's change everything. Before we were selling beans, now people are going to sit down, get chairs. Do we have chairs? Janet, get some chairs. Like, that is exactly what CEOs do. They take vacations and they change things without a moment's notice. That's what being a CEO is. Absolutely. That's all it is. And he really did good at it. So, the 1980s, the original owner of Starbucks, led by Jerry Baldwin, purchases Peet's coffee. So, not only did Pete stop selling them their beans, they also bought Pete out. I want to hear from Pete. Like, what's Pete's perspective? I feel like Pete is just like a pushover and like is like a people pleaser and like has a hard time saying no to people. And he just ended up losing his whole fucking business over it because they were like he probably saw these guys. He was like, oh, they don't know shit about coffee. They want to sell coffee. Let me like help them out. I'll sell them some stuff. Get them. Oh, they're growing. I can't supply this. I'll teach their new guy. Like, let me just be nice. These are just some young guys. And then they buy him out. Like Pete was like, Pete, have some backbone. I feel like Pete is like Toby from The Office. Like you can do anything, and he's like, okay, that's Pete. Pete never actually wanted to be a business owner and took the buyout to retire early, is my hunch. Or that. Maybe Pete is the anti-capitalist king and he was like, take it. I don't give a shit. Pete's killed Caribou Coffee. Caribou Coffee still exists. There's not that many of them, but I'm a fan of their work. I'm literally picturing Toby from The Office. And then by 1986, they were operating 6 stores in Seattle and had begun to sell espresso coffee. By 87, the original owners of the chain sold Starbucks to Howard Schultz, like we said, who rebranded his Georn coffee outlets as Starbucks and quickly began expanding the company. So I guess he owned these places because he went to Italy and gave a fuck. And he started to expand Starbucks once he became the new owner. And then in 1987, Starbucks opened its first locations outside of Seattle. They did this in Vancouver and Chicago. So went to other cold places where people want a little treat that's nice and warm. By 1989, there were 46 Starbuckses across the Pacific Northwest and the Midwest, and the company was roasting more than 2 million pounds of coffee annually. So they grew pretty quickly. In 1988, CEO Howard Schultz at this time put in place a plan for all full and part-time employees, including spouses, to receive full health benefits and coverage. And it was a plan to incentivize people to stay so that they would have long-term baristas and employees. This is actually super smart. I don't think he did this to be nice to people. I think that this is the logic is like, this is where I think his head was at. Getting coffee every day is like a ritual for people. So if they see the same person every day, they're going to be more loyal as opposed to if it's like super like commodified and not personal. Now it is super not personal with the apps and stuff, but I'm trying to put my mind in like the 80s. So I think they were like, oh, if we can get people to stay here for years and like build that connection, we'll be creating customers for life, which is like a very, very good strategy, I think. And I think this was also an easy way to like recruit a ton more employees. And yes, we're going to talk about the union crushing in a second because it was a part of that as well. And also Howard Schultz has kind of used this, speaking of unions, as like a he's like, oh, I did one good thing one time, so why is everyone mad at me? Like, he kind of uses it as like a play for why he should always get a pass and why like the employees don't have rights and they don't have he feels they shouldn't be allowed to have unions because he gives them healthcare. Like, it's a very weird thing. Like, he does it the way a manipulative parent gives gifts, where it's like, well, I gave you this, so you can't hate me. You can't be mad at me. You can't be upset because I did this big, nice thing for you. That's like kind of the energy before. Were coffee shops not a thing in America before Starbucks? Not a ton. I think that they existed, but it wasn't like the super coffee culture we have today wasn't really as prevalent, I think. And then in 1990, the coffee house vibe started catching on. The relaxed coffee house vibe that Starbucks offered took off like wildfire. Throughout the decade, the company saw major growth across the country and underwent an expansion of its headquarters. And this is back when they like really wanted you to stay in there. So like they had lots of chairs. It was comfortable. They had restrooms you could use. They did like free refills. Like they wanted people hanging out in there. They wanted to curate a vibe. It's not like today where it's like very like factory and it's like hostile. So 1991 is when they made their stupid little language. That's when they started serving tall, grande, and venti. I think they have a Trenta as well. They literally are just trying to do a vibe. Now they want you out as soon as possible. Some of them don't even let you inside anymore. Like there's one Starbucks that I used to go to in Miami that like they have a door, but it's always locked and you like pick it up from a window and it's like a small place. It used to be open, and then in COVID they started doing the window, and then they just never went back, which I respect. No, because can we talk about how hostile vibes are inside the store now? They literally want us to have you out in 30 seconds or less. It's insane. Donut shops were the OG coffee shops, yeah. Is that because that's the year Ariana Grande was born? A guy in my town bought all the Dunks in Starbucks and made them drive through. Nice. Very nice. Tall for small confused me greatly. Yeah, I don't love the names. I think it's unnecessary. I also just hate unnecessarily complicated things. Like, I hate when something is not straightforward and we're not getting anything out of it. Like, I'm okay with something being complicated if it makes it better. But you making those new names doesn't make the coffee taste better. So, like, why are we being confusing? So June 1992, this was the time of the initial public offering. They had 140 outlets with a revenue of 73.5 million, up from only 1.3 million in 1987. So they grew like super fucking fast in the 80s and early 90s. The company's market value was 271 million by this time. The 12% portion of the company was sold and raised about 25 million for the company, which enabled it to double the number of stores over the next 2 years. And by September 1992, Starbucks share price had risen 70%. So that is boring business, people, for they are crushing it financially. Like, they are eating the market. Like, if you invested in Starbucks, you're doing awesome right now. In 1994, they acquired the Coffee Connection, gaining the rights to use, make, market, and sell the Frappuccino beverage. So I guess the Coffee Connection was another coffee place that sold Frappuccinos. They're like, we're going to buy you because we want to sell Frappuccinos. And they introduced this under the Starbucks name in 1995. In 1999, Starbucks experimented by opening eateries in the San Francisco Bay Area under the Circadia restaurant brand, and they converted their Seattle Circadia restaurant into a cafe Starbucks. So I guess this is when they started experimenting with food a little bit. Starbucks food to me is like, I'll eat it because that's what's available to me. Like, I'll eat it and I don't hate it, but I'm never going to choose it first. Like, that's what I eat. If, like, I'm late for work and I need to pick up breakfast from somewhere, I'll get, like, Starbucks breakfast. Really not anymore because I don't live near a Starbucks now, but I used to get it. And it all comes in plastic, baby. Exactly. Like, I feel like I can make better things at home. Starbucks food is like, why did you bother? Starbucks is airport food. Exactly. Really, what I do like to get at Starbucks that I will snack on is, like, stuff that's pre-packaged. Like, I'll get, like, the cheese sticks or the little boxes with the salami and cheese, or, like, you can get grapes there sometimes, like, stuff like that. I never really eat, like, the sandwiches. Starbucks food is not that great, but the tomato mozzarella sandwich sometimes hits, sometimes, not gonna lie. I was actually gonna say that's one of the few sandwiches I've gotten. Oh, I like the lemon cake from there. Some of their pastries I'll like. But like I said, it's like never going to be my first choice. So they also bought Pascua Coffee, which was a San Francisco-based retail coffee chain that had almost 60 locations. So they're buying up competition, their stock price is going up, and in the 90s, they also opened their first drive-thru. So I believe this is the first one. They realized there was a heavy demand for drive-thru restaurants, so they started testing this option in Southern California in 1994. Makes sense they did it in Southern California. That's where, like, it's like the car capital, like everyone there drives. Also, why do men love Frappuccinos? What's going on with that? My fiance heard you sneeze from across the house and said, bless you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. Appreciate that. If you have a salad and go buy, they have way better boxes. What's Billiam doing here? Billiam's drinking a Frappuccino. Because they're afraid to order a milkshake? No, literally. The way I have seen so many men berate a Starbucks barista over their fucking Frappuccinos, they like the silly, goofy mood of a frap. Men do love a fruity little frap. Fraps are fucking delicious. Crunchy drink, more manly. I haven't had a Frappuccino in forever, probably since I was in high school. Do not even. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying, like, every man I come across fucking loves Frappuccinos, and I just think it's kind of funny. It's either a frap or black coffee for them. No in between. No, literally. And men that I've met that are, like, black coffee people will love a Frappuccino and buy them on a regular basis. My old manager loved Frappuccinos. He would drink them all the time. So 2003, they acquire Seattle's Best Coffee and Torre Fasano Italia from AFC Enterprises for a lot of money, which gained 150 stores and a significant wholesale business. So they started selling like large quantities of coffee to people. Howard Buer served as president of Starbucks North America. I don't really care about that. They launched My Starbucks Idea as a community website for customer suggestions and feedback. Then in 2008, they closed 600 underperforming stores, but pretty much everyone was closing stores in 2008. The economy was like super garbage. They closed 300 more stores in 2009 and eliminated 7,000 positions. And then they rebranded 43 licensed kiosks. So just like boring business history and business woes. They had annual Frappuccino sales of over $2 billion. $2 billion worth of Frappuccinos. And then the largest Starbucks in the US opens at University of Alabama's Ferguson Center. It's not the largest anymore, but it just makes me laugh that it was at the University of Alabama. White women go crazy. That's like white woman Mecca is the Starbucks at the University of Alabama. Like that's where that was the original COVID, I think. Then they started posting calorie counts on their menus, so they leaned into the eating disorder vibe of the United States. And in 2013, only 10% of purchases were made via mobile devices via the Starbucks app, which makes sense. Think about 2013. Not everybody had a smartphone. Most people did, but not everybody had a smartphone in 2013. We weren't really like things would load really slowly on your smartphone. Like we didn't really view it as like a way to interact with society like in person. Like we didn't view it as like a way to pay for things. Then they start Tweet a Coffee promotion. I think part of the reason they're so successful is because they really lean in to like technology and to like what's going on. Like they used to have the iTunes thing where you could like go there and you'd get a free song if you went there. Like they'd have different songs and you'd pick up a little card and get the song if you went there. They also sold so they sold all their Australian stores. I guess the fucking Australians weren't with it. They considered using blockchain technology to connect with coffee drinkers with farmers. Ridiculous. And then this is also when they had their racial training. And then their largest store, like I said, now is in Chicago. So that is just like the lore of the history. But let's go ahead and get into the union shit. So you can just kind of know the company, how they've grown, all of that stuff. Now let's get to talking shit. See, I told you it was only going to be for part of it. So union lore time, it went back way, way further than I expected, which someone brought up with the healthcare thing. So Starbucks workers first voted to unionize with the United Food and Commercial Workers, the UFCW, in March 1985, and it was 120 people. They secured their contract in 1986 that brought healthcare coverage, paid vacation, and sick leave to the part-time workers. And then Howard Schultz claimed credit for initiating the first company in America to provide comprehensive health insurance to part-time people, despite that when Schultz became president of the company in 1987, he renegade, which means go back on a promise, on his pledge to honor that contract, that it had been the standard for more than a decade prior for UFCW part-timers. And in the new negotiations, he wanted to expand the warehouse and roasting plants to include workers from the 11 Starbucks stores. And this approach, intended for the larger, diluted unit to reject the union, but backfired when the store workers did the opposite. Schultz proposed a reduction in medical benefits, work hours, and just cause termination procedures established in the prior contract. The negotiations were interrupted by a movement to decertify the union that did not result in a collective bargaining contract. So, Hot Mess Express. He took credit for it, even though it was really union behavior. One store employee, Daryl Moore, together with the signatures of other workers, opposed the union, and they decertified the union in 1987. And the union for the warehouse and roasting plant workers was also decertified in 1992. And while the company president Schultz wrote that the company had no involvement in the employees' decertification filing, local union leaders said that the company management had made decertification filing and hired anti-union consultants and lawyers to help. So literally from like day one of the Starbucks employees trying to reneged, sorry, I can't talk. Literally from like day one of the Starbucks employees trying to unionize, They were trying to shut that shit down. So, between 1992 and 2021, the only unionized Starbucks employees were those who worked for other companies with unionized labor and a licensing agreement, such as the people that operate kiosks. So, like, if you work for XYZ grocery store and they have a union and you're a part of the union, but they have a little Starbucks inside there, that's how that would work. You technically work at the grocery store, but you're also licensed by Starbucks. So none of the like Starbucks employees were unionized from 92 to 2021, which is a super, super long time. Why is anti-union consulting legal? Those people are making money, let me tell you. So, in his 1997 memoir, Schultz defended his decision, saying, "If Starbucks workers had faith in me and my motives, they wouldn't need a union." Shut up. Shut up. What are you talking about? Shut up. Shut up. What does that even mean? Red flag. Can someone explain how union busting is legal like I'm 5? Like, your 5 is tough. So you asking, I'm assuming you know what a union is, but a union is basically when all the employees come together and they're like, hey, we want this thing. And because it's everybody together, the boss is kind of like, fuck, I don't really have a choice. I have to say yes to them. That's the whole concept of how it works. Very, very simplified, of course. Union busting is when the boss is like, stop talking to each other. You guys cannot form together. And the short answer for why is union busting legal is it is more illegal now than it has been at other times in history. They used to kill people. Like, they literally used to hire private detectives to kill union leaders. I actually was teaching that the other day. I have a video about it in the labor movement if you want to learn. But anyway, now, yeah, it is really insane. It was in like the 1890s. It was a weird time for everybody. Yeah, they used to kill them. Y'all didn't know this? Yeah, they used to kill them. And then I've said kill them like 10 times. And then another thing they used to do is they would get into like literal battles. Like, the workers would be like picketing, and then the company would hire like a private military and like have that little military like go to battle with the employees. And the employees lost a lot. So if you look at it that way, it's really now the fact that they have to get a lawyer is improved. Is before they would just hire a hitman. So now they have a legal hitman. You know, it's tough. I was about to say there were whole civil wars fought over union. Pittsburgh girlies love the Homestead strike lore. Yes, the Battle of the Homestead. I was teaching that the other day. All those rich people had legal mercenaries. It's a really crazy, super crazy. So the fact that now it's like, oh, if we hire this lawyer, it's like, it's better than it used to be. But also the government used to like really support the company. Like, the government would be like, they're striking, we'll send in the state militia. We'll send in federal troops to force them to work. Like, one time when railroad workers went on strike, they literally hired, like, the military came and was like, you're actually going to make the train go right now. So it could be worse, is my final answer, I guess, to that. So, in 2004, the Industrial Workers of the World, or the IWW, led a grassroots campaign called Starbucks Workers Union, in which workers across a number of cities, including Chicago and New York, started organizing unions. The IWW works outside the mainstream American labor movement, intended to prove that unions could break into the fast food industry. So, I guess that's their main goal. In New York City in 2006, 4 Manhattan stores ran an unsuccessful union drive with the campaign. The workers cited unlivable wages and difficulty securing enough hours to earn health benefits. The campaigns led to a series of National Labor Relations Board cases that uncovered how corporate executives coordinated to fill union-supporting stores with anti-union hires. So the National Labor Relations Board, that's something that was created because when workers were striking and then like people were killing them, the government was like, oh my God, we should probably like step in and like create something to like mediate between these two groups. So that's the National Labor Relations Board, and you can file complaints with them. I don't really know what goes into that and what the process of that looks like. I'm sure it's not easy. I'm sure it's not like you can just fill out a Google form and they'll come and help you, but there is a process to file complaints with them, and they are the ones that help negotiate when there's like strikes and things like that. So yeah, pretty cool thing that our government does. In 2008, the NLRB found that during the campaign, Starbucks had committed 30 labor violations. They're also the ones that investigate for labor violations, including unlawfully terminating and threatening to discharge other union organizers to ward off union activity, unlawful surveillance and interrogation, and prohibiting workers from discussing the union on their breaks. Starbucks denied any wrongdoing, and one charge that an employee was fired for organizing to be rehired with back pay was reversed on an appeal. So this is another thing that companies will do a lot, is they'll violate labor laws that a lot of times we don't know that we have those protections. Like, you are protected that you're allowed to organize, you're allowed to try and form a union. They're not supposed to punish you for that. They can forbid you from talking about it when you're on the clock, but during breaks you are allowed to talk about it. And so that's another thing that the NLRB does, is kind of like enforces those rules and will handle complaints about that. A 2007 complaint to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, about animal and insect infestation found other violations, but no health hazards. I don't understand how that's not a health hazard. Barista Eric Foreman of the Mall of America 1 Starbucks in Bloomington, Minnesota, was fired and then reinstated under the NLRB statement of complaint of being fired for organizing. In 2019, Philadelphia Union Drive, the company fired 2 organizing employees, which the labor board ruled unlawful. Starbucks appealed the verdict. So it's literally Eric Foreman. I don't think it's the same one. No health hazards, just rats. They said, that's Remy. Check your email. That's Remy. Question, as a tenant, can my landlord say they enter 3 times a week, 3 hours on those days? 3 times a week seems super excessive. That's not normal. Our store was infested with thousands of drain flies and we were forced to stay open. It was so bad. Oh, I'm gonna throw up. Ugh. Disgusting. And then in June 2021, the company was again found to have been engaged in certain unfair labor practices in the case. Workers from the Elmwood Avenue Starbucks store in Buffalo, New York, voted to unionize in late 2021, making it the only unionized shop among the chain's 9,000 company-owned stores in the United States. So that's how it works if you want to create a union. Basically, just someone has an idea, say, hey, let's create a union, and then you tell your friends, they say, yeah, it's a good idea. And then eventually it has to go to a vote. So then, like, I think it's 50%. If more than 50% of the employees say yes, then they get to create a union. And then if less than 50% of employees say yes, it's like, no, sorry, not enough people want to do it. So where was I? 2 other Buffalo stores voted concurrently, of which one voted to unionize and the other did not. The workers joined the Workers United of Service Employees International Union. So that is another very common thing where the workers won't like create a new union. They'll vote to join an existing one, like as a store, which a lot of times makes more sense. Yes, to form a union, you just have to get at least 50% of the peeps to sign up for the union. So a lot of times it makes more sense to join an existing union because they already have like all their procedures set up and they already have an organization. And if you've never run a union before, like it's a lot of work. So like it's kind of better to do it with people that know what's going on, which is why you might join an already established union. So where was I? They sought to redress issues of understaffing and undertraining, issues that have been long associated with the company and exacerbated during the COVID-19 pandemic. The successful union vote was recognized as a symbolic victory for the American labor movement and came during a time of heightened union activity right now. And the food industry is known for low unionization rates. Only 1.2% of American food service workers are unionized. So it's like really kind of groundbreaking that the Starbucks employees voted to unionize, like very, very historic that this happened. So during the union drive, so the union drive is like where they're trying to get people to become a part of the union and like convince people it's a good idea. The company sent other managers and executives, including its North America retail president, to Buffalo to engage with employees about operational issues and participate in their work. They fucking sent the retail president. They said, Put an apron on, convince these people that you are one of them, and get them not to create this fucking union. This is a really common strategy, is they will just start sending corporate people to you to talk to you all the time. To basically, they're doing the opposite of what the employees are trying to do. The employees are trying to talk to each other about why they should join a union. So the company is like, let's get people in there to talk about why you shouldn't join a union. They don't say that that's what it's for. They say, oh, it seems like the companies are disgruntled. Not the companies. It seems like the employees are disgruntled. Let's go talk to them. They are complaining. Let's go talk to them. Like an awful version of Undercover Boss. Yeah, because they're not undercover. They're just there. Where was I? So, employees were also forced to attend captive audience meetings that contained anti-union messages. So they'll give like speeches or show videos about why you shouldn't join a union. And then Starbucks temporarily closed some of the area stores for remodeling. So they added excessive staff to the stores that were preparing to vote. So what they basically did is the stores that were not organizing for a union, they closed them. And all those employees went to the store that was organizing for a union. So now all those new people have to be counted for and they get to vote too because they work there. So obviously they get a vote. So it's basically making it hard to win because it's like, it's easier to convince someone you work with every single day and have like an ongoing convo as opposed to all these new people you don't know coming in. Like they're not going to be super open to hearing about like why they should join your union probably. So this is another really common strategy is to start shuffling employees around because when they vote, if it's people that know each other well and are gonna like trust each other, they're gonna vote together. But if it's like people that haven't been working together very long, it's like much harder to kind of rally people. So they flooded the voting pool with people who had very little buy-in, reducing the percent of people who would vote yes. Exactly. So they were basically flooding it with people that are like, this isn't even my fucking store, I don't care. To make it harder for them to win. If anyone asks me to join a union, I'm saying yes, even if it's my first day. Keep in mind, y'all are listening to me, so clearly we probably see eye to eye on things, and to us, it's like an obvious yes. But to a lot of these people, they don't know anything about unions and corporate. Their bosses, the big bosses, are coming and talking to them about why it's so bad. So think about like, who am I going to trust? This rando barista that I met 10 minutes ago, or the president of the company that could fire me if he wants? You know what I'm saying? My boss tried to hire a bunch of people before the vote, and they all voted. That's funny. That is very, very funny. Or they are worried about union dues. That's another thing, because you do have to pay to be a part of a union, so some people are worried about that. Have you seen Amazon's anti-union videos? They're crazy. They're like, look out for words like living wage. Said, if your friends are talking about a living wage, they are not your friends. So, where was I? Workers said this reduced union support there, while Starbucks said the support was meant to compensate for the increased sick leave during the pandemic as it had done elsewhere in the country. So they're basically saying, well, we just gave you more employees because more people are calling in sick because of COVID. Aren't we so nice? I don't know why it took us a year and a half to do that. We coincidentally decided to do that when y'all started to unionize. You could have chilled. The company also requested that all 20 Buffalo area stores vote simultaneously, as to close half the area employees worked at more than one store, as close to half the area employees had worked at more than one store that year. This approach generally works against unionization, and it would have expanded the voting pool from 81 employees to 450. And the NLRB sided with the company twice, letting the stores vote as individual units and not delaying the vote count further, and the ballot was conducted by mail. Separately, workers filed an NLRB complaint about intimidation and surveillance to discourage the union drive. Prior to the vote scheduling, Starbucks announced that minimum wage was going to be increased to $15 per hour and pay raises for tenured workers. So Starbucks is like doing everything they can to try and like not let this happen. I was proud of this meme. Starbucks execs when the alternative blue-haired baristas start acting like alternative blue-haired baristas. Like, look at your employees. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? The union is the only reason we got the 15. I get so many benefits through my union, though. Yeah, a lot of times union dues like pay for themselves with benefits. Literally me. I was hoping that this would call someone out and they wouldn't be offended by it. Just know that y'all are not the butt of the joke. Y'all are like, have my admiration. I mean this with the highest sense of good. Inspired by the success in the Elmwood Buffalo, union organizing drives proliferated across the United States. At the beginning of November 2021, workers at 3 other Buffalo locations filed petitions with the NLRB for union votes. And in early January 2022, the number of stores that had filed petitions extended outside of the Buffalo area, and the state of New York had increased to more than 10. By the end of January, more than 50 company-owned Starbucks stores in the locations had petitioned for union recognition. And by mid-February, the number increased to more than 70 across 20 states. And by the end of the month, more than 100 stores across 25 states were petitioning for a union vote, which is like, this is so inspiring. Like, I think it's so inspiring that these employees like fought for this, and like even with like all the bullshit coming down on them, like even the stores that didn't vote for it, like it still made such a positive impact on people because it showed that like, oh, this is something we can do when a lot of people probably had never even thought of it. I work in construction management, and the unions are so strong that big rat shows up on anti-union sites. This is so good. Yes, the big rat. I love the big rat. I have a friend who led a Starbucks petition on Long Island. Heck yeah. What's the big rat? So the big rat, I'm just going to Google it because I don't know how to describe it. It's like a union thing. So inflatable rats are commonly used for protesting. They serve as a sign of opposition. Union rats. Where did this idea come from? Let me show you a pic. This started a while ago. But yeah, this is a thing. So you can see these are the rats. They're big inflatable rats that they use during strikes and stuff. So it's a thing. Anyway, where was I? By mid-March 2022, the number grew to more than 150 stores. Vice described the union drive as among the most promising initiatives to rebuild what has been a declining American labor movement. The NLRB certified the first union outside of the Buffalo area on February 25th, 2022, with a Mesa, Arizona location voting 25-3, with 3 votes being challenged. On March 22nd, 2022, the first Seattle store voted to unionize, with the workers voting unanimously, which means everybody, in favor of the union. By May 27th, a total of 100 stores had voted in favor of unionizing, and 200 stores had organized by late July. Workers in the NLRB at the challenged stores alleged that the stores voted majority against unionizing were due to union busting, and an allegation which Starbucks denies. As of August 2023, over 8,900 workers at 356 Starbucks stores voted to unionize, the vast majority under Starbucks Workers United. That is so inspiring that happened so fast. And that's the internet. I'm telling you, if we did not live in the internet age, that would have taken way longer. The fact that the first one was in 2021, and by 2023, 356 stores have unionized. That is incredible. Like, I have goosebumps. Literal chills over how incredible that is. So these are the Starbucks employees. This is the first Starbucks to unionize. You can see Starbucks Workers United in Buffalo, New York. And a lot of times, so how I was saying before, a lot of times you'll vote to join a union that's like you join another existing union. A lot of times your group still gives each other a name, but like your dues and your stuff goes through the other people. It kind of depends, and it's super complicated, but that's why they have their little shirts. And look at them, masked up for the most part. So Starbucks employees react as votes are read during a viewing of their union election on Thursday, December 9th, 2021. Look at like the joy radiating in this photo. Like, why am I about to cry? That's literally so embarrassing. So here's a list of their union petitions in the United States. I was gonna post a screenshot of it, but it's literally, where are you? Oh, it disappeared. It was super long. Let me Google it. Starbucks unions wiki. Not embarrassing. It's a big moment. Okay, I got it back. So literally, look at how long it is. And you can see most of them voted yes, or they have not voted yet. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Crazy. Okay. So let's talk about strikes. Now that we've talked about unions, let's talk about their strikes. So since January 2022, Starbucks Workers United has conducted strikes at over 190 store locations for a total of more than 450 total days striking. The largest strike to date was on March 22nd, 2023, where 117 union locations staged the One Day Longer, One Day Stronger strike to commemorate the outlasting interim CEO Howard Schultz, who had resigned prior to the Senate Help Committee on Union Busting sanctioned by Schultz. So they were protesting the interim CEO, who's the same guy. He was CEO, then he wasn't, then he was interim. People, it's a revolving door. So Starbucks Workers United also organized major nationwide strikes on November 17th called Red Cup Rebellion to disrupt businesses on their single largest sales day, the Red Cup Day, and 105 store locations participated in the single day strike. They also organized a 3-day strike the weekend before Christmas, which they called the Double Down Strike. And then the longest strike was 64 days. That's in the game. 64 days. It began July 11th at the location in Brookline, Massachusetts, and it was sparked by a new policy that required workers to adjust their schedules to meet a minimum availability of hours. So they were required to have a minimum availability, I guess. And the workers walked out on July 11th, which was when the policy was supposed to take effect, and they picketed the entrance for 64 days. 64 days is so impressive. Crazy impressive. So this strike ended after 64 days. The shift manager and strike leader informed store workers that store workers would be able to, well, we already talked about this. They had to increase the availability. So then they walked out. In a weekly message to employees circulated by Starbucks on September 18th, the company said it would not enforce the July 11th minimum availability policy. So they announced that they were victorious in the strike. And then Starbucks said that the statements about the strike were not true and the company had not conceded anything. The partners at this location are returning to work under the same conditions at the time they went on strike. No negotiations was conducted with these partners for their return. So Starbucks is saying, well, we didn't negotiate. We never changed anything. But in reality, Starbucks said, hey, we're going to change this. And they went on strike and they were like, just kidding, we're not going to change it. So it was just kind of a different situation. So Starbucks has maintained it cannot legally, unilaterally change benefits or other major policies at unionized stores without bargaining with Workers United. A Starbucks spokesperson told the Restaurant Dive that the company would have never applied the June 11th policy to the store on Commonwealth Avenue. The manager told Restaurant Dive, which is the website that this article was on, that this policy was enforced at this beginning on July 11th, which is why they started their strike. The store manager explicitly told me that I was to demand that people expand their hours, and if they couldn't expand their hours, they would either be reprimanded or removed from the company. She told me under no uncertain terms that this was the new policy that they had to follow. Both parties accused the other ones of lying about the policy in interviews, so basically they're just arguing with each other. And another point of contention was the manager. Workers struck demanding that the manager be replaced, asking the company to guarantee minimum staffing levels at the store during the summer when many student workers were unavailable to work. And the employees told Restaurant Dive that the district manager was in continual talks with Starbucks Workers United members about their manager status. So I'm guessing these are like shift managers and they're talking about the GM. We've been very much assured by the district manager that she will not be a problem at our store anymore. Starbucks said the store manager in question would remain as manager and said that the company and the district manager reserved the right to make decisions about managerial personnel. So somebody's fucking lying. Somebody's fucking lying. I don't know who it is. And the largest strike is over pride decorations. This was last June. So over 1/3 of Starbucks employees identify as members of the LGBTQ community, according to a report from the company. And then last summer in, I believe it was Boston, this was, oh no, Boston was the longest one. Where was this? This was Seattle, is what I thought. Okay, so it was over pride decorations because basically Starbucks told them they had to take down their pride decorations, so the employees went on strike about that. I'm a graduate assistant and I had to quit because they wanted a minimum of 20 hours. Exactly. That's a way that they push out part-time employees a lot, is saying, oh, you have to work at least 20 hours, 22, 23, just until it's like so much you can't keep working there. So, last summer, conflicts between a manager and unionized workers over the manager's decision to remove pride decorations. This union will stage a 24-hour picket to block deliveries at the Seattle Starbucks Reserve Roastery that began striking on Thursday. The union says that the alleged union busting has significantly impacted Starbucks' LGBTQIA+ workforce. Last week, as a part of a Twitter thread claiming Starbucks had banned pride decor, the union also alleges that the company changed some of its gender-affirming care benefits in a conversation for previous Pride coverage. A Starbucks spokesperson told Restaurant Drive that changes to the cost of gender-affirming care that Workers United has alleged were caused by company were due to price changes imposed by healthcare providers. So it seems like Starbucks just like really doesn't want to take accountability for anything. Starbucks said it was unaware of the planned strikes and would attempt to staff any stores impacted by the strike to maintain operations. The company called the union's accusations around Pride decor false and misleading and said that they do support Pride. So last week, the union alleged that Starbucks had banned Pride decorations. And it's kind of repetitive. We already really talked about this. But yeah, they went on strike over Pride, and this was the largest strike. This was like the highest number of people striking. The Boston one was the longest one, but this was the largest one. So let's look at some employees' specific experiences with union busting. So Starbucks barista and union organizer Cassie Fleischer says that she was told by her manager that she no longer met the needs of the business and would face termination if she did not add more hours to her schedule. There it is again. She believes this was an effort to try and push her out of her unionizing efforts. She's been with Starbucks for nearly 5 years and works at the first corporate store to unionize in Buffalo, New York. She is on both the organizing and the negotiating committees. Essentially, Starbucks is trying to force out union leaders either by termination or resignation by changing their policies without prior bargaining. It's truly disheartening what they're doing. Last year, when the Starbucks began to organize, we kind of already talked about a lot of this. Where was I? Oh, so a lot of them were experiencing intimidation and retaliatory firings. Starbucks Workers United does not have a list of demands for the company as a whole. Instead, they have asked the CEO, Kevin Johnson, to sign a fair election principle, according to a union spokesperson. It will be up to a bargaining committee at each unionized store to decide what priorities they would like to bargain over specifically, she says. More broadly, we're fighting for a seat at the table in a democratic workplace. At the store where she had been working, economic proposals have included a minimum tip guarantee of $5.50 per hour and having the company pay full cost of health insurance premiums. In January, workers at the store led a walkout to protest unsafe working conditions related to COVID. Starting around Christmas, Fleischer noticed that her hours had been cut from 37 hours per week to 30. This meant money was tight for her, so she looked for a second job that could guarantee her 40 hours a week. She found one as an administrative assistant and started there this month. She kept her job at Starbucks but changed her availability to reflect her new schedule, and she didn't think much of it. Then her manager met with her and said, if you don't add more hours, you'll leave. So this is one thing that they'll very commonly do to push out union leaders, is they'll cut their hours and then also demand minimum hours. So like they're requiring you to work so much that you can't have another job, but they're not requiring you to work enough that you can pay all your bills with this one job. So like she said before, she was working 37 hours a week. They cut her down to 30. So then she probably dropped her availability to like 15 because she had a whole other job. And they were like, it has to be at least 30. No more, no less. Oh no, they wanted the 15. She must have put like 10 or something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They cut her hours and then punished her for not working enough. So she offered to work a few more hours for a total of 15, but was told it still was not enough. That didn't make sense to her, as Starbucks has always been a job that you can work part-time. 12 hours had always been the minimum number of hours per week, but her manager now told her it was 20. And then, according to Starbucks, there's no standard policy on minimum hours. I don't believe that. And they said each store has unique needs required to support the business. So when she wrote about her situation on Facebook, it went viral, and Starbucks saw the attention being paid as just confusion or misinformation. They said Cassie Fleischer has not been fired. She's just a retail partner working with her manager to work fewer hours, and they're trying to find a way that would work for the store. I hate when managers do this. I was like, well, you have to think about the needs of the business. Whose business? This is not my business. I just work here. And last week, the union filed, this is an older article, so it wasn't last week, a while ago. Where was I? The union filed an unfair labor practice charge against the company over the implementation of this new rule. And apparently, Cassie had a call with the National Labor Relations Board to discuss the situation. I would feel so important on that call. So yeah, here is a fun example of that. Let's talk about another one. Kyla Clay, who is a barista and organizer in Boston, Massachusetts, says Starbucks prides itself on respecting and supporting its partners, but I think the recent firings in Memphis and Buffalo show the company's true colors and highlights precisely why workers are fighting to unionize, to prevent unjust terminations and secure greater workplace protections. Fleischer says she already misses her job. I love this job. It's the first job I've ever had that I didn't hate. The people I work with are like-minded. We get along. We function like a family. It hurts to think how this might end. So this Starbucks ex-manager says that he was told to punish pro-union employees. A former Starbucks store manager testified under oath that the higher-ups at the coffee giant told him to target and find reasons to punish pro-union employees as the company battles a widespread unionization push. Bloomberg reported on Tuesday that the ex-manager David Almond, who oversaw a number of New York locations, told a National Labor Relations Board judge in August that he was instructed by superiors to crack down on certain workers the company believed to support union efforts by disciplining them for unrelated reasons. In reactions to the claims, Starbucks told a Fox spokesperson for Fox Business, "We respect the right of all partners to make their decisions regarding union issue, whether they favor or oppose representation, and in all union dealings, including collective bargaining, we will always engage honestly and in good faith." Liars. The allegation came over lots of unionization, like we already talked about. And then they had to go to court, and there was a Senate thing about it, which we'll talk about in a second. But I think it's crazy. How do they know which employees are pro-union? Eavesdropping. So that's what a lot of the employees were saying about surveillance, like listening to their conversations, putting literally audio recording and security cameras on people's breaks and stuff like that. Looking at people's social media, seeing what they're posting. There's a lot of ways they could find out if you're not being careful, which you shouldn't have to be careful, but you know what I'm saying. So the former Starbucks CEO defends their labor practices during a Senate hearing. This was March 29th, 2023. Howard Schultz, who was the longtime CEO, insisted that he had not broken any labor laws and is willing to bargain with unionized workers as he was questioned in a 2-hour appearance before the Senate Health, Education, and Labor Pensions Committee. He also was firm in his stance that the Seattle coffee giant already provides good wages and benefits and doesn't need a union. "We've done everything we possibly can to respect the right of our partners' ability to join a union, but conversely, we have consistently laid out our preference without breaking any law of communicating to our people that what we believe is the vision for our company." So, Bernie Sanders has been a vocal supporter of the Starbucks labor organizers, accused the company of stalling. He said federal courts and the administrative judges at the NLRB have found Starbucks guilty of hundreds of labor violations, including firing labor organizers and illegally closing unionized stores. "The fundamental issue we are confronting today is whether we have a system of justice that applies to all, or whether billionaires and large corporations can break the law with impunity," Sanders said. Bernie, okay. "They normally go after partners who sign their names on letters to Howard." Oh. Bernie is the president we deserved. I literally cannot even get into that right now. I'm so sad over it. So yeah, here's more from that Senate hearing where they're arguing about wages and all of that fun stuff. And then fucking Ron Paul from Kentucky is like, $6 for a latte? Me and my family, we're good on Maxwell House. That's not what this is fucking about. Do your job. You're a senator, and this is a Senate hearing about labor relations. Why are you talking about Maxwell Coffee? That they're not here. They're not on trial. And he said the hearing today is connived to attack a private company for its success. Shut up, Ron Paul. Nobody cares what you think. Um, and then Schultz is mad that they were calling him a billionaire, but he is one. I grew up in federally subsidized housing. My parents never owned a home. Yes, I have billions of dollars. I earned it. No one gave it to me. I bet the federally subsidized housing he grew up in was when they only did that for white families. I bet so much money. I bet the years check out. I bet he was in whites only federally subsidized housing. I might be wrong, but I think I'm right, and I'm going to choose to believe it. So yeah, very, very fun. He also repeatedly pointed out that only 3,400 of their 250,000 employees have elected to join a union, which for now. And so Schultz was leading Starbucks from 87 to 2000, and then he returned as interim CEO, and now they have a CEO named Lasman Nazarhan. Who told the Associated Press he believes Starbucks functions better without unions. I continue to believe that direct relationships with our partner is the way forward. By direct relationship, you mean you don't talk to them. So this is, I was going to talk more about the Senate hearing, but it's honestly really complicated and I don't really understand a lot of aspects of it. But it's literally 3 hours if you want to go watch it. I'll put it here. There you go. Enjoy. So you can see what's going on in it, all the photos, the full video. It's all there for you if you would like to nerd out over government stuff. So apparently Starbucks fired a supervisor over union activities, ruled a judge. So Starbucks violated a labor law by firing a Manhattan store supervisor who had organized to join a union. The National Labor Relations Board established striking and strong evidence of animus behind Starbucks' termination of Rhythm Heaton, a shift supervisor at the Astor Place store. And the judge wrote, Green found it was particularly suspicious that the Starbucks would risk violating the law by discharging an excellent employee at a time when a very short-handed Astor Place store was already advertising to hire another shift supervisor. The decision can be appealed to the NLRB labor boards and then to federal court. Starbucks said it disagreed with its decision and was exploring their other legal options. Heaton separated from our Astor Place store following the progressive discipline for violations of established cash handling, time, and attendance policies. It's always time and attendance. Always watch your fucking back because this is how they get you. You can be late to work every day and no one cares. I've had jobs where I'm late every day and no one cares. I've worked jobs like that. I don't think it makes you a bad person. I think it's just the situation. As soon as you do something that they feel like you're stepping over the line or they feel like you're going to harm the company, suddenly your time becomes an issue and they will go find backdated ones and be like, well, you were late all these times for the last year and a half. That's not okay. And they'll say like, oh, this is progressive discipline. That's why we fired you. But you never did the first parts. Like they never documented it or like did what they were supposed to do from the first or second time you were late. That's a really common one is like stuff that everyone does and like no one's really been calling them on. They'll be like, ooh, surprise, you're fired. So judge said you should not have fired our boy. And Green, the judge, ordered that they offer Heaton reinstatement with back pay, which we already kind of talked about this a little bit, but National Labor Relations Board, y'all. We love. They also found in September 29th, 2023, that Starbucks violated federal labor law by withholding pay hikes from unionized workers. They violated federal labor law when they only offered new perks and benefits to non-union employees. The decision is the latest in a series of NLRB rulings to find that Starbucks has violated labor laws in efforts to stop unions from forming in its coffee shop. The issue at heart of this case is whether under the current board law, Starbucks was entitled to explicitly reward employees for not participating in union activity, while falsely telling its workers that federal labor law forced it to take this action, wrote Administrative Law Judge Maria Louise Anna Lewis. It was not. In its action, the company engaged in flagrant corporate-wide attack on its employees' right to choose union representation. Nearly 2 years ago, the first Starbucks location voted to unionize, setting off this national campaign. So, Starbucks is currently facing hundreds of unfair labor practice charges, and last year, Starbucks announced that it would raise wages for non-union employees and offer them new benefits. They're still telling us that we're not able to get new benefits because they haven't negotiated for them, but they refuse to negotiate with us. Yeah, that sounds about right. When announcing the new pay hike, Howard Schultz, who was then the interim CEO, said that we do not have the same freedom to make these improvements at locations that have a union or where union organizing is underway, because federal law prohibits us from promising new wages and benefits at stores involved in union organizing. That's not true. You can give people raises, but like generally things you go negotiate with the union for. So they're trying to say, well, we can't, you have a union, so we can't give you a raise, but you literally can. That's like, what do you think this is? So Anzalone wrote in the order that Starbucks had acted in good faith with this claim, and she would have concluded that the company misapprehended basic labor law concepts with all their lawyers, wrongly concluding that it had to deny wages and benefits to union workers without even considering bargaining for the union or deferring its award of new pay and benefits for unionizing partners. The judge added that in light of otherwise compelling evidence that Starbucks is an anti-union motive, such an inferential leap is not warranted. Earlier this year, an NLRB judge said that Starbucks had displayed egregious and widespread misconduct in its dealings with employees, which we already kind of talked about, and that case is still open. In Thursday's decision, Thursday from before September 29th, Anzalone recommended that Starbucks offer the benefits to excluded employees starting from the date that they went into effect for non-union workers, among other remedies. Starbucks should also post a notice in cafes telling workers that the NLRB found Starbucks had violated federal labor law in detailing employee rights. I love this one. She said, y'all gotta post that shit. Y'all gotta tell them you're doing illegal shit. And Starbucks is planning to appeal that decision. Shocker. Before we get into some more corporate stuff, I have to show you dumb Starbucks. I don't care that this stream is going to be way too long, but you need to see dumb Starbucks. If you don't know what dumb Starbucks is, allow me to share with you.
The problem with you is you have great coffee, but just no one knows what.
So if you don't know what this show is, this is Nathan For You, where this guy goes into businesses and gives them advice. But the advice is like technically good, but like very weird. I love Nathan. There's some boring legal stuff, so I'm gonna show you the actual like open for business.
Called Dumb Starbucks. That looks exactly like a Starbucks. The logo,
this is real.
The green coloring. How do they get away with it?
This is not scripted TV. This is a reality show.
Because they put the word dumb.
I had inadvertently created something that was on par with one of the world's greatest artists.
Something tied to an art installation. Maybe this is Banksy.
People think it's
Cups
Banksy.
from my shop were selling on eBay for $500 a piece. And swindlers were even trying to cash in on the hype by hawking fake merchandise outside the store. By the end of the weekend, I realized that dumb Starbucks was a bigger idea than I ever thought it could be. So I gathered the worldwide media to announce that we were expanding.
They closed it. The owner was like, this is fucking weird. Just a spoiler alert. But now, moving on from dumb Starbucks, I wanted to have like a moment of levity before we talk about boring financial shit. It's actually crazy, but bear with the boring part for a second. Me quitting my job and opening a dumb Chick-fil-A. If y'all like the show, you would love How To with John Wilson. Okay, so Starbucks is now low-key a bank. Starbucks doesn't offer bank accounts, but you load money into the Starbucks app and use an electronic gift card with the scan and pay option. Starbucks currently has $1.6 billion in outstanding gift card allowances. This is because they had to do a filing with the SEC, which everyone has to do. This essentially means that Starbucks is getting a $1.6 billion loan from its customers at a 0% interest rate. So when you put your money in the bank, they pay you interest because you're giving them your money kind of as a loan. So the fact that we just give our money to Starbucks and they don't have to give us anything for it, I mean, you do get the rewards, but they don't have like to give us anything is really, really wild. It's already a great deal for Starbucks, but it gets even better because a lot of customers don't end up redeeming their gift card balances, which means that the coffee chain doesn't even need to pay back the full loan amount. In 2022, they reported $196 million in unused gift card balances. So it's like company credit cards, but no benefits, kind of. We need to do a run on Starbucks and all use our gift cards in the same day and drain them. My grandma has $500 in her Starbucks app. I would steal that shit. So Starbucks holds more cash than many banks do. So this is the amount held by a lot of different organizations. PayPal is super, super high because obviously people keep a lot of money in PayPal. And then you can see Starbucks is right here over Customer Bank, Green Dot, some other large banks as well. So the fact that Starbucks is holding similar amounts to cash of like American Express is really, really insane. When I worked at Starbucks, people would regularly have hundreds preloaded in the app. It's true. The only way I can, I guess, make that make sense is if you do a monthly budget and you put your whole month in there at once. I saw someone with $800 in their account just the other day. I would always load like $10 at a time. So according to the Q3 2022 report, there are 27.4 million active Starbucks reward members in the US alone. This is almost double what it was in 2017. Now, like, going to Starbucks and not using the app, like, feels hostile. Like, you can tell they're, like, displeased with you if you don't have the app. I don't mean that as a dig on the workers, but you can really just tell. You just reminded me, I have money in the Dunkin' app, and I hadn't used it because I didn't live near a Dunkin', but now I kind of do. I should get donuts for something. Oh, I'll get donuts for the kids that get A's on that thing. Easy breezy. I was wondering what to do for them. Anyway, no, I love my cash paying homies. Okay, good, because the couple times I've gone in there, one time at my old office, which like my office was like literally had a Starbucks in the building, but it was a real Starbucks, not like a licensed one. We ran out of coffee in the office, so my manager was like, go to Starbucks and buy like the gallon coffees and I'll just pay you back for it because she wasn't there. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And she was like, but make sure you get a receipt because I have to submit it for reimbursement to be able to pay you back. And I was like, okay. So I asked them for a receipt and they were like, oh, we're out of receipt paper. And I literally had to go behind the counter and take a fucking picture of the thing on their screen so that I would be able to submit something for reimbursement because I paid with like cash. Ridiculous. Oh no, they were hostile because you ordered a traveler. No, but I did it in a non-hostile way because I know it takes a while. So I went down there and I said, hey, I need a traveler, but I work right upstairs. So take your time. I'll be back in like 40 minutes. And I don't care if it's cold, is literally what I told them. I wasn't like all the way behind the counter, but they were like, just take a picture of the screen. It was their idea, not mine. I was not about to lose $40 on coffee for that fucking office. I did not care enough. I was getting that picture. I always end up in that situation. Like I always end up like with the employees in a way that I shouldn't be. I don't know how it always happens, but it really does. So within the customer loyalty place, Starbucks has been credited with having the most loyal customer following. Because of their reputation, customers are not afraid to keep money in their Starbucks account, knowing that they can use it at any time. And Starbucks reported that it had 1.7 billion loaded, waiting to be spent in the stores, she said. And what's even better is customers cannot take their money out. So like at a bank, you can go get your money and they legally have to give it to you. Starbucks doesn't. If you load $100 by mistake, too bad. Sucks. One time someone hacked my Starbucks app and stole all my money. They transferred it to themselves, but Starbucks put the money back. It was like $30. I would never keep more than like 15 in there. This essentially locks in customers the moment they transfer funds to the app, providing guaranteed revenue for Starbucks. The days that the app goes down, it's like people lost a limb. They don't know what to do. This is really making me think all reward systems like this are different. So here is normally how a bank works. You deposit money, and when you withdraw it, you get it back. They give you interest. With Starbucks, you deposit money, you get coffee, and no interest. So Starbucks has not mentioned any ambitious plans to utilize these funds and has largely used it for working capital. So what that means is they're using it to show like we have this money so we can like get investments and things like that, showing that it's like a part of our company value. But they're not like, oh, let's use the money to open new locations. Like let's use the money to buy this new product, whatever. Starbucks could loan these funds into higher interest earning income, making long-term investments, or even expand its mobile payment system beyond its own stores. So Starbucks can either use this money to they could invest it and they can make money off of it. That's 100% legal. I'm sure they're going to do that eventually. Or they can kind of like use this payment system for other places and kind of like sell this as a payment system where it's like, you can use it at this place, you can use it at this place. So it's crazy that they're really not being regulated the way like a bank would be. So my biggest takeaway is that money and banking are very confusing, and Starbucks is really good at it, and we should be very scared. I don't really understand how banking regulations work, but I know that Starbucks is not abiding by them because they're a coffee shop and not a bank. But the fact that they have $1.7 billion in cash reserves is really, 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 really crazy. I currently have like 75 in mine, but it's because I found 1 million gift cards for students. Yeah, sometimes around Christmas, I'll get a lot of gift cards from people and load them all in there. So moving on to racial controversies, they have been accused of racial bias and discrimination on many different occasions. In 1994, they settled a lawsuit after 2 employees were dismissed because of their race, age, and sex. A Black woman filed suit after her direct supervisor or regional vice president said that he would like to call her Toby, a slave name which was given to African Kunta Kinte in the TV miniseries Roots. Her coworker spoke on her behalf, after which she was fired. So that's crazy. 1994 is not that long ago. So for you to be saying that in 1994. In 2008, a former African-American Starbucks engineer sued the company for discrimination after his supervisor failed to address racist bullying he was experiencing in the workplace, instead giving him extra work due to his complaining, and they also settled that suit in 2009. In 2014, a Milwaukee Starbucks employee called the police when they noticed a Black man sleeping at the park, which resulted in the police officer killing the man and shooting him 14 times, prompting protest. I'm glad people were protesting. And then in 2015, Starbucks Race Together campaign, where baristas were instructed to write the phrase race together on customers' cups with the aim to start a national dialogue about race, was heavily criticized and received backlash. Because why did you think you could fix racism by writing race together on customers' cups? That sounds like a slogan for a 5K. And then in 2018, this went viral. 2 Black men were arrested and escorted out of a Philadelphia Starbucks after the staff called police because they refused to leave. A video of the incident quickly became viral and sparked widespread outrage. In another 2018 incident, a Black man was denied the code for a restroom for not being a customer, even though at the same time a white man was given the code before ordering anything. The Kylie Jenner Pepsi ad. Race is a 4-letter word. My fellow white folks, I swear to God, it is really, really, really cringe. And after 2018 is when they closed and did the racial sensitivity training, which we're going to talk about. In 2020, Starbucks employees were prohibited from wearing Black Lives Matter symbol or phrases on their clothing or accessories. And in 2021, a Starbucks in Ireland was fined 12,000 euros after an Irish Thai customer received her order with a racist drawing on the cup. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has raised allegations against Starbucks for racial bias in its promotions, allegedly based on workforce data from 2007 to 2011 that showed that minority retail partners received fewer promotions than what is statistically expected. So, Starbucks, like pretty much every organization in the US, has had a history of showing racial bias and showing racism. I really wanted to include this because I think Starbucks kind of gets a pass for a lot of things because it's like, oh, it's Starbucks. They're so woke. The little young people love it there. It's like known as like the young, cool college, whatever. But in reality, like they are at the whim of any of our power dynamics of that are racially like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the racially based power dynamics in the US are present in Starbucks. Like that's obviously Starbucks is not like a magical wonderland that's free of racism. Starbucks is going to be impacted by these things as well. And historically they've shown they're not really doing as much as they could to fight against it. So this is Starbucks stores decided to close for education for 175,000 U.S. employees, and the curriculum was to be designed by nationally recognized experts and would be available for other companies to use. And they have a video about it. I haven't watched it, but I have a feeling it's going to be very cringe. Oh, fuck. Why are none of my links working today? That is so annoying. Starbucks close racial training. I bet I can find it again. Oh, it's so weird. When I Google it, it comes up. Okay, I found it.
On a mission to listen and learn. Since landing here in Philadelphia 2 days ago, the leadership team and I have been on a mission to listen and learn, with an objective of understanding how this situation could have ever happened, and to begin to take the steps necessary to ensure.
May 29th was such a joke. I cannot even begin to explain what their idea of racism is. Oh, we're going to talk about it.
Never happens again. You know, I've had the opportunity to meet with the two young gentlemen who were arrested last Thursday in our stores. I sat in front of them and I apologized personally to them for what happened. They didn't deserve it.
Can you unarrest them?
They shared with me the story of their personal experience going through this. And
there were little exercises they wanted us to model. Every single partner at my store was white. Oh my God. I hate when they say listen and learn.
We had a very emotional and a very constructive conversation. We had the opportunity to meet with the mayor, with city council members, with the police commissioner, with customers, with partners, and community leaders.
Customers.
All with an objective to ensure we really understand.
I feel like I would be the type of customer that would show up to that meeting. Like if I was at a Starbucks, I would definitely would. Like if I was at a Starbucks and someone from Starbucks corporate approached me and was like, would you like to meet with us to discuss racism within Starbucks? I'd be like, fuck yeah, when? I love doing stuff like that. Anytime they want people to go to a meeting to talk about something controversial that happened, I'm like, let's talk about it. Let's discuss.
And that we begin to craft our path forward. Well, today we announced the first step in that journey. On the afternoon of May 29th, we are closing all 8,000 plus U.S. company-operated stores in the United States for a mandatory training around unconscious bias, conscious inclusion, and ensuring that we take every step we can so that every single customer that walks in our door feels welcome and safe. Now, this is just one step in the journey, and it's an important one. And
worst improv session I've ever been a part of.
That is why we've reached out to thought leaders on this.
One afternoon is definitely enough time to deconstruct the racism of the United States. We can take care of that in an afternoon for sure. Y'all are going to make coffee from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. and then from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. we're learning about racism. So buckle up.
This topic to help us craft the curriculum. Thought leaders from the NAACP.
And then they never addressed it again. They thought they ate.
Others. This is mandatory training.
Don't worry, guys. They reached out to thought leaders.
In between, we are all going to go through this together. It will become a part of the new partner training for all Starbucks partners.
Thought leaders.
And this will happen on May 29th. Now, this is just one step in the journey.
They should have live streamed it.
There are many more to take, but it's an important step. It's an important step that reflects our mission and our core values. We work to be a different kind of company.
I can't believe no one knew that only 3 hours of training could solve racism.
Our scale for good.
Someone throw a hot Starbucks coffee at him.
That the pursuit of profit.
Thought leaders also sounds like a microaggression. The pursuit of profit is not in conflict with doing social good. Literally, what the fuck are you talking about? What you're closing for one afternoon. Let's level set that you're closing for one afternoon. That's probably still going to be a profitable day. Because you'll probably sell enough in the morning to make it profitable. Because everyone will know they have to get it in the morning because you're closed in the afternoon.
We're doing this on a topic that I believe affects all of America.
I was hired after this and there was no racial sensitivity training that I got. Liar! 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 They lied! They did not train Aristotle's imp. They did not give Aristotle's imp the anti-racist Starbucks training.
is the first step in our journey forward. Thank you.
Okay, so that's them announcing it. Obviously, we need to talk about the people who actually experienced it. This is some TikToks that I found. I cannot verify any of this information, but I think it's funny, so I'm choosing to believe it.
Do you guys remember when Starbucks shut down internationally for their sensitivity training day? I was there for it, and one of the major things that stuck with me 5 years later was part of the training included other partners from other stores anonymously sharing stories about what happened when they didn't mind their frickin' business. One of them haunts me to this day, so I'm going to reenact it for you. I had just started my shift and put my hair up into a messy bun when a man entered the store. He was scruffy looking and grabbed some items from the refrigerator case. Instead of bringing the items to the cash register, he turned around and approached another lady who was sitting on her computer. He spoke to her briefly and then stuck out a hand. I immediately ran over and said, "Sir, you can't panhandle in the store." The lady then turns to me and goes, "Ma'am, that is my husband." The look you have on your face, same one I had.
That is insane. I don't mean to laugh because it's not funny, but I'm laughing at how you could be that socially inept. Like how you could think that that was okay. It's so bad. It is so bad. And then same thing. Oh, I forgot about this meme. Corporate overlords, best we can do is a one-day training for coffee shop employees. No reparations, but we'll close Starbucks for afternoon. Okay, again, I don't know if this is actually in Starbucks training. This is just something I saw on TikTok, but it's really funny. Did somebody connect him with the thought leader? If you do a racism within a Starbucks store, you will be immediately connected for a Zoom meeting with a thought leader from HR.
He notices his hands are full. Raj, when she notices his hands are full, it's a common courtesy. By contrast, if LaToya holds the door for Raj and mutters, "Gay men are so weak," that could be considered harassment.
She was trying to save her from a scrub. What? Okay, so wanted to end on the horrifying Starbucks. Let's actually run that back. I want to watch that video again because I think it needs to be watched again.
Raj, when she notices his hands are full, it's a common courtesy. By contrast, if LaToya holds the door for Raj and mutters, "Gay men are so weak," that could be considered harassment.
I like how it could be considered harassment. Not it would be considered harassment. Could. Let's dig deeper. What did you mean by that? What did you mean by that? Starbucks training videos read literally as comedy. The harassment videos to watch as a teacher are bad, though. Yeah, they are pretty bad. But I usually, you just gotta grin and bear it. Gotta get through them. Oh, so these are my sources from today. I forgot to take down a few of them. Sorry about that. I used a lot of sources, but I promise you I'm real and legitimate. So what do you want to learn next week? I'm actually going to do it as a poll on here, so you can vote on the Nearpod, but I'm going to do it on here. Actually, I don't really like either of these ideas now, but let's see if something wins. Lohan, non-profits are scams. I don't know if I want to do nonprofits as scams because it's like going to be, mathy. But I could make it not mathy. I could. Let's see what people vote for. Nonprofits, hopefully mine isn't included. We'll see. And also, I'm doing a stream that's like, I don't want to say sponsored by a nonprofit because they're not paying me, but I'm going to ask people to donate to this nonprofit, and I'm kind of working with them to create it. It's going to be in November, and I love this nonprofit because it's a small nonprofit, and I know the people that started it, and the people that started are actually full-time teachers. Everyone running it is a full-time teacher. So it's like, I think those are the best kind of nonprofits to give to because the people that are running it are doing the work, and so your money is going to good work because it's very small. So I always say if you want to give to a nonprofit, try and find something that's very locally based with a couple people involved. Ooh, a mega church stream would be good too. So actually, I don't know what we're doing next week. I'll think of something. Nothing's really like for me right now, but I'll think of something. So I lied. Can I end the poll? Not report poll. I'll see what wins. It's very 50-50. We'll see. We'll see what I do. We shall see. I'll let the poll keep going. But anywho, let's go ahead and play the frickin' game. And my scalp is so dry. So I don't want your email. I don't want you to have to log in. I don't want anything of the sort. Don't even worry. But if you want to join, you can go to join.nearpod.com. All you have to do is enter a name. You can do a fun little nickname. I put the link to join in the chat. Salem Witch Trials would be cool. Maybe we'll do that one. That's a good idea for spooky. What do we want to do for Starbucks? We'll do Halloween because it's time for that. So it'll ask you for your name. It looks like nonprofits one, but I'm not going to commit that to you because I might think of something better. And I'm kind of liking the Salem Witch Trials vibe. And I have a little witch that I can bring in here. But anyway, go ahead and join. Oh, a Britney deep dive. I can't even handle that. So you can go to join.nearpod.com and then enter the code. It's EGVUX. And like I said, I don't want your email. I don't want anything from you. It's just a fun little trivia game about what we talked about today. Oh, it's LGBT History Month? I didn't know that. Salem Witch Trials for sure. Also, a history of Halloween in America could be cool. Mouse Whiskers, hi. All right, I'll give people a couple more minutes to join. I did do Stonewall. I could do it again, though. It's on my YouTube, though. I'm getting new curtains. I'm really excited about it. I have a lot of shit for my house getting here tomorrow. It's going to be great. Oh my goodness, I have so many Instagram DMs. Mary Shelley could be a cool subject. Who's that? I don't think the airplane Wi-Fi can handle the stream and game in tandem, but I'm there in spirit. Chi-Town Shorty, fun. Where are you going? I hate airplanes, though. I'm terrified of flying. Not because I'm not terrified of flying, like I think I'm going to die. I just hate it. So I guess I'm not scared of it. I just hate it. It makes me uncomfortable. It gives me a lot of anxiety. Not because I think something bad's going to happen, just like the whole process gives me anxiety. I hate things being out of my control. I hate crowded places. I hate being around people I don't know. Anything like that. I just don't like it. I'm a little claustrophobic. I don't like being... Claustrophobic's not the right word because it doesn't matter how big or small a space is. I get really bad anxiety if I'm like locked in or out of somewhere. Like I'm the person that like... If a bathroom door is kind of tricky, I'll go find another bathroom because I don't want to be locked in there. You know what I'm saying? My ELA heart cracked when you said, who's that, from Mary Shelley. I don't know anything. Like, I'm actually one of the least educated people ever. I don't know anything about anything. Like, literature, don't know it. Like, this famous book, haven't read it. I don't know. Could not tell you. All right, I'm going to hit start in a couple of seconds. Oh, one other thing I wanted to tell you. One, I love the fact that I have this stool now. That's great. Here's my merch. The CIA is just a frat that took things too far. This is like the men's XL tank top, but honestly, everything on there is gender neutral. It's just categorized, and I left it on there so you kind of know what to expect from our binary-ass society. But anyway, MK Ultra, that is when the CIA let a bunch of people do LSD and then gave them LSD without their consent. And then on the back, it says, I'm rushing CIA this fall. This is my favorite design that I have, and I really like this tank top. But yeah, I'll give like 5 more seconds to join the game. I have a bunch of other merch. I actually just added some new stuff today. Price range is $20 to $45. I try and keep it semi-reasonable. And you can either do the QR code or the link is right there. All right, I'm going to start the game in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You sound stuffy like me. I think it's just like my voice is tired from talking this whole time, but I think I am coming down with something actually. sizes suck. You need to take your own mock-up photos. Those are chuggy. I am broke. Until merch becomes like a profitable endeavor, then I'll take photos. When did the first Starbucks open? Can we get stickers? Ooh, that's a good idea. Yes, I will post stickers. I used to collect stickers when I was a kid. Whenever I get stickers, I get anxiety because I don't want to put them on anything because I'm like, oh, it's not good enough for the sticker. And then I either don't use them or I put them on something and I regret it. Like I have this mirror that I had a couple stickers on. Let me turn this down. I had this mirror that I had a couple stickers on and I gave the mirror to my boyfriend for his office and I was like, oh my God, I should not have put my stickers on that. Does the quiz normally make noise? Yeah, it has a little song. I've thought about getting a sticker book for that reason. Valid. I put them all in a notebook, ruining them all on purpose, but they're there forever. When I was a kid, my mom she wouldn't let me put stickers on anything because she didn't want me to ruin her furniture. So she would give me Post-its, and I could put my stickers on the Post-its, and then I would like move them around. Correct answer, Tim Apple. I took my closet doors off the hinges and moved it with me because it was covered in my stickers. Valid. That's so valid. I hated puffy stickers. My favorite were the fuzzy stickers. Oh, I'm the reverse. I like the puffy ones. The fuzzy ones freak me out. No, my mom is just like really intense about home decor, is what it is. Heat the sticker up with a blow dryer and it's easy to peel off. Just don't heat the mirror too long. How long is too long? I buy more cups to put my stickers on. I used to be a big sticker on cup person, but the problem with that is I like to keep a cup for years. Like I had my Hydro Flask for like 4 years and then eventually it was just like so banged up. And after a while I was like, I don't like that sticker anymore. Or like a joke that isn't funny anymore. Not like offensive, but you mean like, you know, like internet humor that kind of goes out of style, like where it's like, oh, that's embarrassing. That's like so 2 years ago. So I don't like to put them on the water bottles because I like to keep them for longer than most stickers are funny. I mean this in a genuinely nice way. You seem like you have a home decor mom. No, I definitely do. Like, and I mean that derogatorily. Like, I mean that and I want people to self-reflect. You know? She's very intense about the decor. It is true. A Starbucks manager was told to punish union employees. The largest Starbucks strike was over. Did you have PB Teen catalogs as a kid? Seems like your vibe too. Yes, my mom was a big fan of PB Teen. I had a PB Teen sleeping bag. I had some PB Teen art. My sister had so much PB Teen stuff in her bedroom. Because she redid her room in like a PB Teen era, you know? What was the name of the parody Starbucks? By the time that I redid my room, we were like in the Wayfair era, you know? All I want in life is to be financially stable enough to be a home decor mom. But my mom's house is the way that like you go in and you're like, oh, this was staged for HGTV. Like it doesn't look like anyone lives there. And she would take that as a compliment. Like I don't think she would be offended at all by me saying this. Like you go there and she always says she doesn't want any signs of living in her house, which is from that video. The Company is Coming, the Chris Fleming video, that is literally my mom. And we have showed her that same video and she's like, but she knows it's her. Y'all were rich. I would say we were like medium rich. $1.7 billion loaded into Starbucks accounts. All right, nice job. M, an IKEA cafeteria, Sarah Seraph, a cowboy girl, blue-haired barista, Mads, Gina, unstable garbage, Tim Hortons parking lot, logarithm, breadstick, a tall grande vente parking lot, Stacio, a Starbucks parking lot, Merpussy, Tim Bucks, electric, asparagus, dino nugget, Starbucks parking lot, Sierra. I love the inflatable union rat. Sorry, I love Starbies. It's understandable. I used to get Starbucks every day. A Dutch Bro parking lot. Bye, baby angel. Always love to see you here. Nice job. Nice job. This was a very fun. I really liked this topic. I like doing, something a little different. Those of you on TikTok, I'm going to say bye to you right now. Good night. And those of you, and those of you on Twitch, memes, Starbucks horror stories, anything we want to share with the class. Just passing up on Ross Starbeans. Yay, I'm glad I got this. I need a yummy little treat. I'm going to shit myself. Well, we've all been there. Also, I am such a little coffee diva now. Now that I have an espresso, I never get coffee because no matter where I go, I'm like, ew, this is gross. I could make this better at home. Basic white girls in their natural habitat. True. Can make this a little bigger. There we go. One time my neighbor and I sampled fraps for so long, my neighbor thought I went missing. My friend and I did so bad on this quiz, but it was fun to reminisce on the Starbucks glory days. I view Starbucks employees the way I view like Vietnam War veterans. I'm like, you went through a lot. Like you went through some stuff. You had to do terrible things at the hands of someone more powerful than you. It's a lot. Partners, what's the most unhinged caramel macchiato container you've used? We used the mop bucket. Oh, I'm terrified. When is the pod on YouTube? Unfortunately, I have no idea. Fraz does the editing and the posting of the pod, so I do not know, but I can ask her. Sorry, friend. I did worse on this quiz than the one I did last week when I missed the whole stream. I have to bribe myself once or twice a week with going to Starbucks just to make myself get to school. I've applied to almost 100 non-teaching jobs in the past month, but no callbacks yet. Ugh, I'm sorry. You deserve that, Starbucks. Went in to get my 2 weeks. They had taken me out of the schedule without telling me, so I never went back and kept my apron. TBH, when I go in Starbucks, I'm tempted to take someone else's mobile order drink. Me too. Every time I'm like, I could just take it. I could literally just take it. First time trying boba. Please stop. I'm literally begging you to stop. Y'all didn't make iced caramel macchiatos in different containers? It was a whole thing in all my city Starbucks stores. I have not heard of this. I used to have a regular who came in every day and ordered a butter croissant that looked like Selena and not Whoopi. What does that mean? I'm scared. I had a coworker try to quit and they straight up told her no. I saw something go viral where it was like at a McDonald's, I think, and it was like, this is a no-quit store. You cannot quit until you speak to a district supervisor. Are you going to hit me? Are you going to lock the doors? Like, what do you mean? I can do whatever I want. People were so feral over the caramel sauce. I had a regular who got an inch. I'm sorry, I just need to throw up a little bit. I know I've gotten old because I have to reduce the number of flavor shots to 1 when I order a drink or it'll be too sweet. Oh my God. Well, today was a great day. I'm convinced that is the perfect way to end off. I'm convinced the worst of humanity can be found at a Starbucks at any given time. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a great day. Thank you for being here. I really liked this topic. I hope everybody has a phenomenal night. I'm not sure what we'll be doing next week. Maybe it'll be scam charities. Maybe it'll be something else. But have a good night. Sleep tight. And I'll see you in